طيب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This issue that, this previous thing that we talked about, the brother that asked about pornography and so, reminded me of another topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. I think it's going to be an hour long or so, even though I'm going to try to keep it shorter, especially because I actually don't have any time right now. I need to go like, and like, I guess we're going to see what we're going to do, inshallah. I don't have any script. Normally when I give a lecture or so, I have a script. Uh, so I don't know if I'm gonna call this a lecture or not. Bismillah wal alhamdulillah was salatu was salamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Obviously, as always, this is gonna be completely uncut. As I said, I haven't prepared anything. I'm just gonna speak from myself. We're gonna speak about why are we here? Why did Allah Azza Jal create us? Reflecting on what we just talked about of the issue of pornography. Again, I know I said a lot of times that I don't want to speak about the issue again because, as I said previously, you know, I see that speaking too much about it makes it worse. So go back to my other videos because I spoke about it there. I spoke about why I don't want to talk about it more there. But I see that this part I still didn't talk about, and I spoke to one of the ikhwa on this issue previously, like an hour ago, and I really think that we need to speak about this. What does getting married have to do with Tawhīd? What does leaving pornography have to do with Tawhīd? We all know that we are here because to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب, how do we worship Allah Azza wa Jal? Worship Allah Azza wa Jal through At-Tawhīd. طيب, what is At-Tawhīd? At-Tawhīd, as we know, is of two types. Is the Tawhīd of knowledge and the Tawhīd of and the Tawhīd of action. Tawhīd of knowledge, that we know Allah Azza wa Jal by His names, that we know Allah Azza wa Jal by His attributes, that we know that Allah Azza wa Jal created everything, that we know that Allah Azza wa Jal is sustaining the heavens and uh, the heavens uh, and the earth. طيب. And the tawheed of action is that we worship only Allah Azza wa Jal, as we've spoken or as we mentioned, obviously, in our previous classes and all of our previous classes, especially the recent classes of the classes about the the introduction to Islam. Fa This is Islam. This is the reason why Allah Azza wa Jal created us. It's for Tawheed, to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, to know Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And Ibn Abbas said that this means لِيُوَحِّدُونَ, and he also said that this means لِيَعْرِفُونَ. Allah said, I did not create man. I did not create jinn and man except to worship me. And Ibn Abbas explained worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal as knowing Allah Azza wa Jal, as tawheed, as making Allah one. يعني إفراد الله ibadah, that we direct all of our acts of worship to Allah Azza wa Jal. All of this comes under لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that we know Allah Azza wa Jal by His names and by His attributes. This is, as we said, is the first type of tawheed, the tawheed of knowledge, tawheed al-ma'rifa wal-ithbat, or as some people call it, tawheed الربوبية and توحيد الأسماء والصفات. طيب, or as we said, others call it توحيد المعرفة والإثبات, توحيد التوحيد العلمي, and so on. And the other type is لِيُوَحِّدُونَ, to make Allah one. Meaning all acts of worship we do not direct them to anyone other than Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب, our as Allah Azza wa Jal said, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي, say that my prayer, وَنُسُكِي, and my slaughter, وَمَحْيَايَ, and my life, وَمَمَاتِي, and my death, are for Allah Azza wa Jal. لله لله رب ال رب ال رب ال رب ال رب العالمين. طيب, for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. And as we said, al-alamin is everything besides Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Azza wa Jal, this is what we call Tawhīd, التوحيد العملي, the Tawhid of action, or some people call Tawhid al-Uluhiyya, or some people call Tawhid al-Talabi wal القاصد يعني. However you want to call it, the most important thing is that we know that Tawheed is of two types. First one, most people say it's three, but in this one we combined al-asma wa sifat and al-rububiyyah. So Allah Azza wa Jal said that He did not create jinn and mankind except to worship Him Azza wa Jal. And how do we worship Him? Through knowledge and through action. Knowledge, as we said, that we know Allah Azza wa Jal through His names and through His attributes, that we affirm what He affirmed for Himself, that we affirm that He is the creator of the heavens and the earth, and that He's the one who sustains them. طيب. And through the actions, that we worship Allah alone, that we direct all acts of worship to Allah Azza wa Jal alone. طيب, second, I have to move my mic. طيب, so that we direct all acts of worship to Allah Azza wa Jal alone, and to no one other than Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب, now, what does this have to do with being addicted to pornography or marriage or so? In general, we're gonna speak about desires. I chose this topic, number one, because of how common it is. Obviously, like I would say, like 96% of people, 97% of people have this. And from my audience, probably 100%. طيب. And of course, this is a natural thing that Allah Azza wa Jal made in us. طيب. Before we go into that, or actually, okay, so we know that this is a natural thing that Allah Azza wa Jal made in us, and Allah Azza wa Jal made this a means, made this desire, if it's fulfilled in that which pleases Allah Azza wa Jal, then Allah Azza wa Jal made it a means for peace, and for feeling safe, and for tranquility, and for enjoying it, and for pleasing. طيب. And of course, to then inshallah Azza wa Jal build a family, طيب, with your spouse who you do it with. And if you do it in that which does not please Allah Azza wa Jal, whether that is with someone else in zina, or do you do it in your bathroom to pictures online, or you do it in your bathroom to the wall, then in any case, this is this will result in the opposite of what we mentioned when we spoke about that which pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. It will make you more depressed. It will make you sad. It will make you get further away from Allah Azza wa Jal. No. So we said the reasons we talked about this, number one is because this is a natural thing that Allah Azza wa Jal created in us. When the reason I said 100% of my audience and then I laughed on it is because most of my audience are, you know, young men in the age gap of, let's say, 15 to 25. Yeah. So that's why. That's why. Obviously, those that don't have this would be like either old people or people that have, like, you know, diseases of some sort that block this. So may Allah Azza wa Jal protect us يعني. طيب, but as I said, most people have this يعني. Most people have this desire for the nikah يعني. So this is the first reason why we were talking about this. Just give me a second, I need to bring something. So as we said, this is the first reason why we are talking about this. The second reason is because how common it is for young men, especially, to deviate in this issue in these days. If we look at statistics of numbers of porn usage amongst young men, they are so high. And of course, you know, some people could say, you know, these studies, you know, they're with kuffar, or they are this or that. Other studies have shown that the most number of visits on these types of sites are in Saudi, in Egypt, and so on, in Muslim countries where you would think that they're the least. So in this lecture, we're going to speak about why is this the case, and I've covered that before. And on my channel, you'll find a playlist called marriage, and another playlist called addiction. And in both of these, you'll find videos all about this topic. But here, I want to link this to a Tawhīd and why this is an important thing for us. And I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna focus more on Tawhīd, but I'm gonna use this as an example, as I said, for the reasons that we talked about. So the first one, as we said, is because everyone يعني has this, or most people. Number two, because of how common it is for people to deviate in this. And as we said, this is most common in young men around our age, or around my age. I don't know if there's like a 60-year-old man you know, in this. طيب. But around my age would be like, you know, I don't want to say my age يعني, but you know, from 16 to 25, if you if you say it in this way. I'm not 16 though, just to be clear. And I'm not 17 as well. ف طيب. In short يعني, الله المستعان. سبحان الله, and I'm not and I'm not 18 either. ف سبحان الله, for people to deviate in this, or for men to deviate in this, for young men to deviate in this issue, is very common, even amongst people that fear Allah Azza wa Jal, even amongst students of knowledge. But this is also common amongst females as well. طيب. and wallahi the numbers are starting to grow as well for them. طيب. Now I don't know if there's any females who will listen to this. I would hope not, honestly, but I mean, maybe she could gain something from it. I don't know, honestly. But subhanallah, for us young men, because life has become so easy for us, we start to take easy paths out. We're not used to a difficult lifestyle. And I know we're still speaking about the reasons why I chose this topic, so I'm not gonna drift off topic too much, but I like to expand on the topic and then go back to the main topic. And if this, for some people this might be too much to deal with, but this is what I believe is best, inshallah azza wa jal. This is what I believe people will gain from the most, yani, inshallah azza wa jal. Fa, we said that this issue, as we said, it is a very common issue for people to deviate in, especially around my age, especially in men. As we said, this exists in sisters as well, but especially in men. طيب. So going back to the subtopic that I was talking about, I was saying that life has become very easy for us nowadays. If we order food online, we are mad if the order is late by 20 seconds or so. This would ruin our day. When back then, when we read about the companions and so on of the Prophet, we see that they would fight and they would lose their arm, they would lose their leg, and they would lose their two of their sons, and then they would still fight and say Alhamdulillah. But here, when we see such an extreme comparison, this is when we know that there's something really wrong with us. Of course, because of this is definitely something that leads to this as well. And we need to be more strong. We need to fix our mindset to be stronger. We need to, obviously, this word mindset, people are gonna think that I'm speaking like Andrew Tate or these people. Obviously not these, we're not with those people at all. What I mean with mindset is you need to change the way you think, right? You need to think that you're a man. You need to, you are the man who will carry the society. You're the man who, if there's a war, you will need to defend your country and so on. But you will need to defend the deen. طيب. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to change this mindset. We need to stop being weak. We need to stop being weak. And of course, I don't just mean making your body stronger, going to the gym or so. Obviously, this is a good thing, right? But a lot of people, they overdo on this. What I mean mainly is seeking knowledge in the deen so you can defend the deen. Now, going back to the main topic. So I said the second reason why I chose this topic is because the deviation in this is very common these days. Well, with pornography, with zina and so on. The third reason is, as I said in the start, because we were just talking about this. So, the thought came to me, so, I thought we might just talk about it. And the fourth reason, obviously, as I said as well, because I was talking to my friend about this a while ago. And the fifth reason, and to end this part here, is that I've spoken about this previously. I have, as I said before, other videos on this topic, so it would be nice to build on this. And I remember the sixth reason as well, because this the reason why we linked Tawhīd with this again, is because, as I said, obviously, as we know, Tawhīd is the most important thing. I believe when we speak about this issue and we explain how this has to do with Tawhīd, how fulfilling this in a way that please Allah Azza wa Jal has to do with Tawhīd, then this uh, will be a good thing inshallah Azza wa Jal, and also as well for the reasons that we mentioned above. So let's now start actually. So we said that Tawhīd is of two types, right? Number one is that you know Allah Azza wa Jal. You cannot fear that which you don't know. So that you fear Allah Azza wa Jal, you need to know Him Azza wa Jal. And this, of course, is a response to those who deny the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, like the Ash'aris, or like the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah, and those who followed them from the Ash'aris and so on, and the Maturidis and so on. And in this is a response to whom? To those who come and say that, why are you dealing with Ash'aris in a difficult way? They don't disagree with us on that big of things. No, they disagree with us on Allah Azza wa Jal. So for you to fear something, you need to know what you're fearing. So you cannot fear Allah Azza wa Jal if you don't know who Allah Azza wa Jal is. Right? This is number one. So number one in Tawheed is that you know who Allah Azza wa Jal is. You know His names, you know His attributes as they came in the Quran and the Sunnah. And when you neglect this part, obviously you become a kafir. But besides that, you start to fall into shirk in the other type of Tawheed. You start to fall into more sins. Why? Because as we said, you cannot fear Allah Azza wa Jal if you don't know Him. Right? A real Muslim who affirms this first type of Tawheed, he will fear Allah Azza wa Jal more because he knows Allah Azza wa Jal more. He will fear Allah Azza wa Jal more. Because he knows Allah more, he will fear Him more. And this is why when we look at Ash'aris or people who deny the sifat of Allah Azza wa Jal, like them, you'll find the shirk in them is a lot easier than in others. You'll find them giving wrong fatwa that they know are wrong, fatwa that they know go against a hadith and go against the Quran and so on. It's a lot easier for them to distort the deen because they don't even have a deen, because they lost the most important thing in it. As we said, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَمَا خَلَقَتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. The reason Allah created us is to worship Him. Ibn Abbas said, لِيَعْرِفُونَ, so that they may know Allah Azza wa Jalla. Some people try to misinterpret this based on what they want to achieve, and they said that لِيَعْرِفُونَ here means that, so that they may know the world or so. No, it means to know. Of course, Allah Azza wa Jal obviously commanded us in the Quran that we look at the creation of Allah and we ponder upon the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. No one said that we shouldn't do that. But I mean, in this verse, or what Ibn Abbas here means, is that so that we know Allah Azza wa Jal. Because the ayah, the noon ends with a kasra. فَلِيَعْرِفُونِ. Allah is saying so that they may worship me. So Ibn Abbas means so that they may know me, meaning so that they may know Allah Azza wa Jal. And we said the second type of Tawheed is the Tawheed of the action. That you don't worship other than Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب. As Ibn Abbas said as well, لِيُوَحِّدُونَ, so that they may make Allah Azza wa Jal one. They don't direct any act of worship to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب. How do we link this now to marriage? We, as we said, or as we know, marriage in Islam can be any of the five of the ahkam at taklifiyya. Marriage can be a wajib, meaning that you must do it, and if you leave it, then that is a sin. An example for that would be someone who has a very strong sorry, someone who has a very strong desire and he fears that he falls into sin, which is probably every single young man these days. Number two, الاستحباب أو الندب, that it is mustahab, or as people understand, or as it's common amongst people to say that it is a sunnah, and this is the default in marriage. If you have light desires that you can control, or you don't have desires, so then it's still the default. Is that it is mustahab, that it is a recommended thing for you to get married. It could be allowed if an example to this would be, as an example, a man who has a wife. It's allowed for him to take another wife, but his first wife is enough for him. But he doesn't fear that he will fall into haram if he doesn't take a second wife or so. It is allowed for him to take a second wife. مكروه, مكروه, disliked. Marriage could be disliked if you have a slight fear that if you marry again you might not be fair. You want to get married again, but you have you're disliked that you you have a doubt maybe that you might not be fair, right? And it would be not allowed, as an example, if you're married to four, if you have four wives, or a woman that is married, of course she cannot marry except one man, or someone who is married to one and he knows that he will definitely not be fair if he marries two or three or four. طيب. Now obviously this is I don't know if you can actually ever know that for sure, but people know themselves best. I would say Allahu a'lam. Don't know if anyone can really say that though. طيب. The reason we mentioned this, so we can now go into and speak about how this has to do with Tawhīd. Nikah, as everything else that we do in our lives, has to do with Tawhīd. Why? Because as we said, the reason why we are here is to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. And as we said in the start, we cannot worship Allah Azza wa Jal except through Tawhīd. طيب. To know Allah and to worship Allah alone. Marriage, just like everything that we do, has to do with this as well. This applies to everything that we do. Tawheed applies to everything that we do. Everything that we do, we need to think, how do we please Allah Azza wa Jal in this? Because that is why we are here, to please Allah Azza wa Jal, to do that which pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. I'm not saying, as we know, there are things that are allowed for you to do, right? And then there are things that are not allowed to do. Of course, the things that are not allowed, or things that are disliked, you should leave. And the things that you must do, or the things that are recommended for you to do, you should do them. And then in between we have the things that are allowed for you to do, meaning that it doesn't matter, you do it or you don't. A lot of scholars would stay away from these. Why? Because you need to control yourself. And when you train to control yourself on things that are allowed, but you train yourself, you train to control it with things that are allowed, then it will be easier for you to control it with things that are not allowed. And this is يعني kind of off topic, but it's also very important for us to mention. طيب. طيب. Now, nikah. Uh, what does it have to do with Tawhīd? As we said, everything that we do, before we do it, we need to think, does this please Allah Azza wa Jal? Whether it is praying, fasting, traveling to another country, maybe eating food, drinking water, does this please Allah Azza wa Jal? People might think that this sounds weird, especially if you're new to Islam or you are not even a Muslim, in which case يعني may Allah Azza wa Jal guide us all to the correct path. طيب. Or you don't understand what I'm saying. You need everything that you do, before you do it, think, does this please Allah Azza wa Jal? Why? Because we are here to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. And worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal, or no, it means that يعني as Ibn Taymiyyah said in مجموع الفتاوى, العبادة اسم جامع لكل ما يحبه الله ويرضاه من الأقوال والأفعال الظاهرة والباطنة. Worship is a label that gathers everything that, or that contains everything that pleases Allah Azza wa Jal, and that Allah Azza wa Jal, He loves, from speech and actions, from the clear and the unclear, and from the ones that people see and from the ones that people don't see. Ones that people see, like prayer, if you pray in the mosque, everyone will see that you prayed. Yani everyone there will see that you prayed, or everyone there who sees you. Yani. But if you make a tasbih while you're alone at home in your room, طيب, you make tasbih and you make dua, or you pray, or when you encounter a problem, or someone dies or so, and you are patient, and inside of yourself you are pleased with the decree of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is also a form of ibadah. Where I'm trying to go with this, I'm trying to go to that we can turn everything into a form of ibadah to Allah Azza wa Jal. Before you eat with the intention to gain power through this, to then go and worship Allah Azza wa Jal, to then go and invite to Islam. طيب. As we know, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إنما الأعمال بالنية أو بالنيات. So indeed the actions are only judged by their intentions. وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. And indeed for every man is what he intended. So when you intend to eat the food just because it tastes good, as long as this food is allowed, then it's allowed. You're not gonna get a sin for it, obviously, but you're also not gonna get a good deed for it, because this is something that you're allowed to do, right? But if you eat food that you're eating with the intention to get stronger so you can worship Allah Azza wa Jal, then this is an act of ibadah. And this is why the scholars said is that the secret of the scholars is the intentions and what you intend with the things that you do. Because a real scholar knows that in front of or before everything that he does, he can intend to please Allah Azza wa Jal with this, and then inshallah Azza wa Jal, he will get the reward for that. طيب. For now, I want to move to the real topic, the real what we wanted to speak about here. What does marriage have to do with all of this? There are a lot of types of people going into marriage. There is that one guy who he sees a cute girl on the street. He goes and asks for her father's number. He calls her father, and they get married after a month. The only reason he marries her is because he thinks that she's cute, and the only reason she marries him is because he has a nice car. And the only reason they get married aslan is because so that their families allow them to be together. And this is very common amongst the youth that doesn't really care about the deen, right? They get married based on looks because she's cute, because she, these stuff. Then there's the type of youth that they're very close to this side, but they actually care about the deen. So he does get married to a girl because she's cute. She does get married to a guy because he's rich. But in the end, there's still that part of we're getting married so we don't fall into haram. So at least they have a good intention in it, even though the main intention for the marriage or the main intention for choosing the spouse wasn't correct, which is he's just marrying her because she's cute, and and she's just marrying him because he's rich. But in the end, they still have that small intention that the reason we're getting married and we're not just going out like this is so we don't is because this is not allowed. And of course this is a good thing, and this type of people whenever I see them I say alhamdulillah that there's this the fact that you have this good part in you, it shows that there is still good in you. So increase this, and for the guy maybe start to seek knowledge about the deen, grow your beard, and so on. And for the girl also obviously seek knowledge in the deen, and maybe stay at home and cover if you need to go out and so on. I'm speaking about that they care about the deen, as I said, they care about the deen, but it's like they don't really understand it well, or they are deceived by specific groups. So she's not gonna wear the hijab, and she's gonna put $20 worth of makeup on her face every time she goes to work, and the guy he shaves his beard, right? This is the type of group that I mean. And this type of group, when as I said, whenever I see them, I obviously what they're doing is not good, but in the end of the day, it's like it's clear that there's still a good thing in you, right? And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to guide all of the Muslimin. And then there's the type which is actually before I mention the correct type, I'm gonna mention the kuffar. The kuffar, because they don't even know why they are here. The only reason they get married, that's if they actually get married, because that's a rare thing for them. Most of them are just gonna rent a room for the night and dump her after 2 weeks. But if they do actually get married, and in this case dump her after 2 weeks and so on, I mean the atheists and so those that don't really care about the world. I'm not speaking about people that may strictly follow other أديان, يعني strict Jews or strict Christians, and so even though yes they are kuffar and they will go to the fire, and so if they die uh, uh, up, upon this, but in the end they still get married for their God, يعني, to because they want to protect themselves, because they also see this as a sin, يعني, as we said in the last clip as well, the clip where we spoke about marrying the woman of the people of the book, which are the so for those who will see this on the YouTube channel, you might not be sure after what we're sending this. So I'm sending this one. I'm sending this lecture after the lecture of the or the clip about the marrying the woman of the people of the book, and after that is also sent the response, the advice to the brother who has issues with porn and TikTok and so. But I think I'm gonna upload them in this way, yeah, as well on the YouTube inshallah azza wa jal. I would recommend after you listen to this to go to these two inshallah. But I'm saying the kuffar, the atheists, those that don't know why they are even here, not the Jews and the Christians and so that have a deen, yani, even though their deen obviously is wrong. I mean the atheists that don't know why they're here. This group of people, they will get married if they do, as I said, based on I feel calm with her and so on, which is obviously a good thing. Yani if you marry someone, you should probably you should probably feel calm with them. But I mean, uh, and obviously they're also mainly gonna think about she looks good or so, right? Now I'm gonna speak about Islam. In Islam, or the correct way is what, and of course this is not just in Islam. This is also in, if this was also for Jews and Christians and so on. But I'm saying for Islam because Islam is the correct deen, yani. Uh, the correct path is that you get married for deen. The only reason you're getting married, or not the only, the main reason you're getting married, and the main thing to look for in a spouse is deen, is that she fears Allah Azza wa Jal. Obviously, this is speaking to the ikhwa. If we're speaking to the akhawat, then obviously looking for that he fears Allah Azza wa Jal. This goes before looks, before money, before his lineage, before wallahi if he drives a Mercedes or these things. No, the number one thing is his deen, or yani her deen. طيب. Because if the deen is good, then everything after that will follow in it. Now, some people might understand this to mean that, especially the ikhwa, they're going to tell me, does this mean that I should marry a woman that I'm not attracted to, or that I don't find that she looks good or so? No, obviously not, because that's going to cause issues, right? However, what I'm trying to say is find someone with good deen who you are attracted to, who you think that she looks good, even if she's not this 10 out of 10 beauty queen, as we as we said in the video about marrying the people of the book, yani. Even if she's not this 10 out of 10 beauty queen, right? But you are attracted to her, then the fact that her deen is good and that her akhlaq are good and that she fears Allah Azza wa Jal and that you believe that she will protect you and raise your kids well, right? And that you will feel comfortable with her, this is a lot more attractive than just looks. And this is a lot more attractive than wallahi she, her lips are this or her nose is this or, these types of things. طيب. And of course, you'll only realize this later on in your life after you, because a lot of people that say this, they get married to someone that is very attractive from the outside, but from the inside, she is the worst person you could ever meet. And this type of person, and by the way, on a side note, this thought process is something that will really help you lower your gaze, or not lower your gaze. It will really help you forget what you've seen. Because when, especially if you're in the West or so, when you've seen girls that you might think that she's so beautiful and so on, or she wears tight or short clothes, or so you see everything, and you're like, wow, she's so cute or so. Uh, and then you think like, wait, instead of thinking in this way, wow, she's so cute, why don't you think in the way, that she is that she is this obeying Allah Azza wa Jal by showing herself in this way. And then instead of looking at her like wow, you will look at her like, ooh, you know. I I don't know if that makes sense, but inshallah it does, yeah. طيب, instead of thinking that, wow, she's so attractive or so, no, you need to change your thought process to, this is attractive that she wears short clothes or so, to how, would I allow my wife to wear wear this outside? Obviously not. خلاص, so I'm not gonna marry her, so there's no reason to look at her. you know طيب. So this is what I meant with changing your thought process from the start. طيب. So what I'm trying, so going back, is the main thing, as the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, the main thing to look for when you are searching for a spouse is her deen, his or her deen. طيب. uh, and this brings us back to Tawhīd, which because you're doing everything for Allah Azza wa Jal. When you eat food, you choose food that is allowed. And by the way, maybe we're gonna speak about food in another time, but just in case we're not going to, I would also recommend everyone, when you're buying food, not just to buy food that is allowed in Islam, but also to buy food that came from. Food will make your brain stronger. Food that will, improve your health, inshallah. And you could buy chocolate, or like, this what is it called, this like ايش كان اسمه هذا these, these, like Haribos and so, uh, obviously if they are halal, then you could say like, this is my food. Like, no, because this is not really food, right? Because food that you're eating for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, food, and if you're really only eating for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, so that you can be stronger, so that you can uh, wake up and be strong and strive to defend the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, then that type of food, it's not going to be a bag of chips, or a chocolate bar or so, or like a milk chocolate bar, because like the dark chocolate is actually pretty good, for you, but this is not the place to talk about this. inshallah we will speak about that afterwards, يعني in another day. When you choose food, when you're choosing food, يعني eating to make yourself stronger does not just start on the plate. It starts when you are choosing what to put on the plate. Do I eat chocolate or do I get a nice smoked salmon or a nice rib eye steak? طيب. I'm sorry if anyone is listening to this while he is f- fasting يعني. ف طيب. ف this also shows why يعني are you just eating to enjoy or are you actually eating to make yourself stronger? This doesn't only come with the intention as you are eating, but it also comes to in the intention when you choose what to eat. Like this is a topic for another day though on food and everything. I've always wanted to talk about this يعني. Because a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of students of knowledge, they make very poor choices in food as well. We can speak about this as well, inshallah. Going back now to marriage, choosing a spouse, and so as we were saying, because everything you do, and we're almost getting at the hour, I think. We're almost getting at the hours, subhanallah. So now we have chosen someone because of her deen. Right? I'm gonna be saying her because I'm a man, so but fa you have chosen someone for her deen. Uh, you're gonna be automatically so you have chosen someone for her deen, and you've seen her obviously as the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said that you should look at her because that will increase uh, the love between you. I think that was the hadith. Correct me if I'm wrong. Fa hadith that was narrated by Ibn Majah. Fa Allah musta'an. Fa looking at someone that you potentially want to get married to and seeing if you are attracted to her or not is an important thing. But again, here I'm gonna emphasize again. I'm not saying marry someone who you think that she looks bad, right? Or you think that she's not attractive or so. But on the other hand, don't go to the other extreme and not marry anyone unless she's like this 10 out of 10, uh, and then you start to count up basically the things that you'd want. Yeah, her lips like this and all of these things. طيب I honestly don't know what people would يعني count under this honestly. ف you need to be in between يعني if you find someone whose deen is good and she's a 10 out of 10 in your view, obviously not everyone's taste of woman is the same, but in your view she's like the most beautiful girl that you have seen and her deen is good, then of course this is a good thing يعني. But still the main reason that you're marrying her is her deen. طيب obviously there's no issue is in from the Islamic standpoint if you marry her because she looks good. طيب how but I'm trying to say the optimal thing, the optimal if you want to يعني make this intention strongly for Allah Azza wa Jal, it is to prioritize the deen, and this is what the Prophet alayhi salatu was salam said. Now some people may, or some men may come to me and tell me, طيب ما if when the more I'm attracted to her, the more that will improve the marriage, because then I will be يعني more attracted to her, and then we will sleep more and so on. طيب يا شيخ, طيب, if you're marrying the most beautiful girl on the planet, you're gonna get used to that after a few months. Yeah, this is gonna be a normal thing for you, but because you're gonna wake up next to her, but you're gonna be with her every day. You're gonna spend your entire day with her. When you come back from work, يعني, or so. But the main question to ask yourself is, will she aid me in my deen? If she sees that I'm falling into a sin or that I'm doing something that is not correct, will she tell me? Do I want her to raise my kids? This is the most important thing to ask yourself. طيب, because the beauty on the inside goes above the beauty that you see, because that in the inside that you don't see, this is that which you will see every day after you get married. This is that which will keep you attracted to her even after khalas you have gotten used to her appearance. طيب, how many people have we seen that? I'm speaking about like kuffar mainly, but how many people have we seen that they marry the most beautiful girl that that they have seen, or like actors or so, who had like 20 plastic surgeries done or so to make the lips bigger, to make the nose smaller, and these things. I don't know how people honestly find this attractive, يعني, but everyone can think what he wants. uh ف when we see men marrying this type of girl, it's like, in most cases they get divorced after maximum a year. Why? يعني, according to this logic that some people have, they're not supposed to get divorced because she's so beautiful and so on. So he's supposed to, stay attracted to her and so. But as we said, you're gonna get used to that, and as we said, you're going to get used to that. And what is gonna keep you attracted to her in a sexual way is her beauty from the inside. طيب, and that beauty from the inside is what she does for Allah Azza wa Jal. When she takes care of you, when she cooks for you, when she smiles at you when you come back from work or so. As the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam said, is that when you look at her, then you are yani happy, not because she's so physically attractive or so, even though, as we said, this does play a role, but because you love her for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. طيب, And this is where we go back to Tawhīd. When you do everything for Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal will protect you, and Allah Azza wa Jal will bless you. Yani when you get married, when you choose your spouse for Allah Azza wa Jal, because when you prioritize her deen over everything else for Allah Azza wa Jal, then Allah Azza wa Jal will bless that in 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 Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So this is the link between everything that we do in our daily lives with At-Tawhīd. This is a response to all of the idiotic idiots, I don't know if that's a word, who neglect Tawheed and who say that, we need to unite the Ummah, Sunni, Shia, Ash'aris, and so on. طيب. Of course, we have a lot of responses to them. Not the place for it here. فبارك الله فيكم. We need to prioritize what pleases Allah Azza wa Jal in every context. In prayer, fasting, in zakah, in hajj. Obviously, we all know these. Sorry, but then in your appearance, in how you use the bathroom, in what you wear, in how you are with your friends, how you are with your spouse, how you are with your kids, where you live, how you live, what you eat, what you drink, and so on. Everything, you need to prioritize what pleases Allah Azza wa Jal. And you need to intend to do it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. I hope that people have gained from this. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to benefit people with this small, I guess, like lecture, so if you want to call it. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.